So welcome everybody to our latest video. In this video, I'm really excited for one reason and one reason alone. I've got Helen on our video today. Helen's a good friend, someone that I've known surprisingly for many years, but got to know an awful lot better recently because we share a passion, and that passion is property. But Helen has come to us over the last few years from a corporate background, a bit like myself. So we're going to be talking today about transferable skills and the things that we can potentially bring from other experiences, other jobs, other careers, or even just things that you generally pick up. We're going to be talking about those transferable skills and how they can help us in property. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you very much for having me, John. Very excited.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. It's a pleasure. Like I said, it's a pleasure having you here because we did a bit of work, didn't we, many years ago?
Many years ago,
Worked
yeah.
together. We're showing our age now. Let's just pretend it was
I
6 months ago.
But it will feel like a lifetime ago. It already does for me, and I've been out of the industry for a year now, so
Wow.
I'm sure it feels a lot longer for you.
So you're full-time property. You
Full-time
focus
property.
full-time on property. You
Yeah,
left corporate just over a year ago, is it?
yeah, yeah.
Cool. And how are you finding it?
So I think I said this to someone else the other day. I've never known a kind of industry to be so volatile in terms of how it feels to be in it. So it's like a roller coaster. So you're on cloud nine one day and then you're like rock bottom the next, and it can be that kind of transitional. So, but
We
it's
all relate to that.
yeah, but that's part of the enjoyment factor of it, because you never know what you're going to get. So when I was looking for roles when I was younger and thinking about what I was going to do, I didn't want a job where I'd be doing the same thing every day monotonously, all of that kind of stuff anyway. So it fits very nicely with that. So yeah.
Cool. So how is the property business coming along? You're doing serviced accommodation at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, so we've got our own portfolio, and we being me and my husband have got our own portfolio of properties that we're building. So still relatively new to it.
Wow.
And it's SA based. So the reason it's SA based is that we bought our first property through COVID. So when we were both still working, so still working from home, had a little bit more time on our hands. We were like, and also a bit more cash, because obviously we couldn't go on holiday, couldn't spend it in restaurants, could you? You couldn't do any of that. So we were like, what should we do? Shall we go? What should we do with it? Should we go and buy it? Why not go and buy a house? And we were like, okay, let's go and do that. And because I live near Cambridge, but I'm from North Yorkshire, we were like, let's buy a base up there so that when I go up and see friends, family, we have somewhere to stay. So that was how we did it. It was never really a fully thought through, this is a massive investment, we really need to learn about it, kind of first go at it. So
Nice. So you went through COVID, you set up the business, you bought the property, and now
yeah.
you're growing and expanding. Yes, and you said something really interesting to me fairly recently about the what's the term? I think sort of the fear of that sort of imposter syndrome when you're not one of these great big huge multi-property enterprises with
Yeah.
multiple locations. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk a bit about how that makes you feel, or how that might?
Yeah, so the other thing I decided I would do this year is deal sourcing as well. So we've got that ticking along in the background too, and that's to help with the cash flow side of things. But yeah, like coming into this world, if you like, so having bought that property, then decided, right, we should really get educated on this, do some training, learn more about it, because it actually can be quite lucrative if you do it right, and the opposite if you don't. So I thought I'd get trained up, but sitting in some of these training rooms or talking to a lot of people in networking, I think a lot of people will feel like everybody else is doing better than they are, or have more experience than they've got. And, people talk about having loads of properties or a big development that they're working on, and you sort of could feel a bit like small and insuperior, if you like, to that, and insignificant. And you're like, oh, well, I've got one, or I've got two, like, you know what I mean? And so you think, should I be here? Am I in the right place?
A lot of people would relate to that. I know I
Yeah,
did when I first started going to networking events. I felt overwhelmed. I felt a wave of fear
yeah.
in the
And
room.
then if you're not very good at networking either, and you get kind of overwhelmed with that, or that, then it's a double whammy, isn't it, for people too? So I really feel for people in those situations. So fortunately I like talking to people, so that's not necessarily an issue, but certainly the experience side of things is something that you can feel, like you say, imposter syndrome walking into that.
But I suppose, and it's the main reason for our call today, is you don't need to be this 100+ portfolio property investor with millions in the bank to be good.
No,
be good.
no.
You can have no properties, but just have a really good plan, a really good execution, and I think that's certainly something that you and I have talked about a lot. Do you want to talk a bit more about those transferable skills?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So I don't know if everybody who's listening to this probably understands what we mean by transferable skills, really, but essentially, like, it's not about technical skills. This is more about leadership skills, if you like, and mental agility skills and people skills and that kind of stuff. And they're the skills that, if you get those right, you can do anything, essentially. And at Mars, there's a massive kind of focus on self-development, self-learning, self-awareness, all of that kind of stuff for that reason. Because if you can master some of these more like ingrained skills, if you like, personalized skills, then you can transition from different technical roles into a different role as well. So you would see people moving from supply into sales, or from marketing into sales, or whatever, like, as long as they had like what we'd call like high learning agility, so the ability to be able to know what to do when you don't know what to do, which is not easy. And you go, well, how does that work? But it's back to being able to be good at the mental side of things, the finance side of things, the people side of things, and then you can transfer it all across.
And everyone's got their own sort of special skills, something that they're really good. I mean, I'm known for data. I mean, interesting. I'm probably better at insights than I am at data, but I'm just what I'm known for, and I enjoy it, and it's my passion, and I'm able to acquire properties and do things and develop products and services and all those things simply through that. That's not a property skill.
No.
It, as you rightly point out, that's one of those things that you've just transferred in. It's something that I'm quite quick and agile at doing, and we've all got those skills, haven't we? We've all got something that we're famous for. We're good. We're good at.
Exactly. So I think some of the other skills I would call out are, I've talked about people skills, but like execution or project management or planning and prioritization. So I've talked a bit about that before.
This is the bit I hide under the desk, Helen.
I don't know what you mean, John. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I think you do.
But yeah, if you're a good project manager, like, you'd be brilliant in property.
And I think that the difficulty with our industry, we've got a lot of experts and people who will tell you this is what you must do it this way, and just do it this way, and do it this way because I did it this way, and if you do it this way, I promise you that I'll tell you that it's the right way, but I won't make any guarantees, and just keep doing it that way. And that's a common thread throughout property. It's just like, trust the process, do it, the master plan, all that nonsense. The reality is, I think for us all, and we've set, it's probably more acute for those of you that are coming from a corporate or a corporate background or career, and coming into property. We're used to structure, we're used to process, we're used to oversight and management. And in property, when you exit or when you get into property, that evaporates. But we seek it out through experts and coaches and training organizations and things. And the truth, really, I think for us all, is it starts with you and it ends with you. You've got to put that in place, haven't you? You've got to make that happen.
Yeah, you do. And you think, am I doing it right? Am I doing it how I should be? Yeah, like so many. Yeah, it gives you a bit of self-doubt, I suppose, isn't it? So I think a lot of it is like, you've got to back yourself. You've got to really know, like, hang on a minute, like, I was good at this in a previous life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring that into the fore, and I'm going to utilize that skill. And then I hear a lot, and I totally agree with this as well, like, you don't have to be the expert in everything. You can outsource a lot of stuff. You can, you can build relationships with people who you then get to know, like, and trust. And that's really important. And I've done that this year. And there's people who I've met and then maybe haven't then kind of continued those kind of connections, and then there's people who I've met and I make a real effort with, if you like, and they're the people who will make a real difference to your property journey as well, and they're the people who are genuinely there to help you. Not going to charge you for doing it and stuff either. Like, they want to help and they want to see you succeed. So if you surround yourself with people like that, that will also, stand you in good stead.
And I don't know about you, but I'm always surprised if you go to a room of people, or you ask some people that you might know who just get into property, and you ask them, what's your business plan? And just silence. Or I buy HMOs for cash flow, or the next I'm going to do SA South Coast. Just like, could you be more vague?
So why? So again, like, is that because people? So we used to talk about, is it will or skill? Which is it? Okay. Like, if you've not done it because you don't know how to do it, or if you've not done it because you haven't got the desire, you're not that kind of person. You don't want to sit down and write it all down and plan it, if you see what I mean. Yeah. But you've got to do it, because if you don't have a plan, then you'll never get where you want to be. So I think that can be quite scary and quite daunting for people, but also you've got to know how to do it. And it's not difficult. You've just got to actually carve out some time to think about it, because it can be really busy, and you can make yourself really busy and hectic and essentially a busy fool if you're not careful, can't you? So how do you make sure you're spending your time in the right way? And again, like, priority setting is something that in the corporate world, like, again, in my Mars life, like, we were so busy, like, your to-do lists and your work and the scope of work, you could have spent like 12 hours a day and still never got it done, right? But you then had to really focus on what was important and what would, you used to use the phrase, like, what will make the boat go faster, right? So this is the end goal. This is where we're heading. These are our targets. This is our strategy of how we want to get there, and our little sort of metrics that go with it, if you like. So yeah, if you weren't clear on that, how do you know that what to say yes to and what to say no to, and what's going to help you get there and what's not, if you see what I mean?
Doesn't everyone say yes to everything in property?
Yeah. And I guess at the start as well, you probably would, but then you've got to understand where that's going to get you as well.
It's risky. I mean, how many people get caught up in investment schemes and projects that they desperately want to get out of, but they can't be seen to get out of, because they've got to be seen to be in it and loving it, so that more people join, so that they make money. Ponzi schemes sometimes.
Be honest with yourself. And it's funny, because Mark and I, we were up in Scarborough at the weekend. We drove, Mark drove a van up with the furniture in to drop it all off, and it's not quite ready for finishing off yet, but we needed to get the furniture up there because he started a new job today. So we were talking about this on the way back. We were talking about what were we talking about? We were talking about a strategy and our plan and what we're trying to do, and making sure we're staying on track. So we're in the process of looking for our next opportunity, and we're going, like, what do we do? Mm-hmm. And you can go, well, you can do this and you can do that, and you could, there's all sorts of stuff, because obviously I'm a deal sourcer, right? So I'm finding all sorts of stuff. So you go, then we said, no, our plan was this, our strategy was this, like, this is our goals, this is what we're aiming for. So what will mean that we get to that point? And we sort of rein ourselves back in and go, right, well, then the next logical step is this. So for us, we've done an essay in the Yorkshire Dales. We then talked about, okay, how do you get a holiday let firing even more and performing better than the one that we've got? Coastal, we were like, holiday let coastal, they perform a lot better, so hence Scarborough. And then we're like, right, do we stick with holiday lets, or do we then branch out? And we're like, well, to be honest, we've probably not done enough yet in the SA space, so we're going to continue with that. But equally, we've got one eye already on what's our next strategy, because you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. So we will look at buy-to-let as well, but potentially at below market value, and maybe with a tenant in situ already and something more local to here. But yeah, it's just making sure it rings true with everything you've
made a critical point there, because people always talk about, this is my strategy, but then the strategy comes after your plan. What do you want? What do you actually want to get from your business? And that doesn't get embedded in many people's sort of day to day. They lose sight of that. I said, just got to keep going. Just got to keep working.
Yeah. what you're working for.
Yeah.
What's it all for, right?
Oh, I need another HMO because I love my HMOs and looking after them. No, I don't. I love what the HMOs deliver for me.
Yeah.
I love what my tenants deliver for me and my family,
Yeah.
the lifestyle.
How many people do you know, John, honestly, who are in property, who are have got to the place where they wanted to get to? So let's say a lot of people join and do this because they want the freedom, right? So you want to be able to not work, or work but only the hours you want to work, and you've got a passive enough income to be able to support that. How many people do you actually know who are living that dream?
Truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
I would hazard a guess at a dozen or two tops.
And why is that?
And I know hundreds of people because people can't stop working. It's in our nature. We
Yeah.
just keep pushing, and there's there's a paradox and a risk in property that um, you feel satisfaction from doing a good day's work
Mm-hmm.
more than the satisfaction you get from being efficient and making a good profit on your time and effort that you put in.
So people not being honest with themselves to start with, then, because they say they want freedom and they say they don't want to work, and actually they do. They do.
But
It's just
that's always my lead in with people. So what are you doing property for? Well, I'm doing HMOs for cash flow. No, what are you doing property for? Why do you want it? Oh, well, I want to be passive income. Yeah, why? What do you want your passive income for? I've not thought of that. So why did you decide to do it?
yeah. So ours is like to be able to. We'd love to live abroad at some point. So we'd love to have a holiday home that we can go and stay there, like when it's miserable, like it is today. Like through the. This is a great example of not being wanting to be in this country today for us.
Yeah.
And then be able to sort of, like, Mark would love to write like later down the track, and I would love to have a consultancy business or some shape or form that means I can still help people and work with people, but maybe obviously remotely. So that's our end goal. So we've always said we will work, but it's doing the work that you really want to do that you can't do now, I suppose. Or
And I think that is the ultimate truth for most people.
yeah.
It's you're not going to stop working.
No.
You will keep working, but having enough control over your journey so that the work that you do makes you happy and
Yes.
generates you wealth and happiness as well.
Yeah.
And I think,
So,
I've been honest, that's where there's probably only a dozen people that I know that have reached that point, and they're not retired, sat on a beach, eating nice food and sipping nice drinks. They get that in their life, but that's not. They also want the job and the career.
they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
do it. If you love something, put all of your effort into something that you love.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that shouldn't be in property. There are a lot of people that should, but they're doing the things that they don't love in property because someone's told them to do it, or because they believe that's what they've got to do, and that's a dangerous path
So
to
it
walk.
can definitely be an enabler to getting to where you want to be. But I think your point is, make sure you know where you want to be.
Yeah, maybe you'll need to go and work as a sales agent for an estate agent to get some experience. Maybe you'll need to buy or set up a cleaning firm to learn about the maintenance. Maybe you're still working in the building trade and you've got to do stuff. You've got to do lots. And I did things that I didn't like. I still have to do some things that I don't particularly like, but I focus on what I love and what I enjoy, and I'm working to build a business that satisfies mine and my family's sort of wants and needs for the next 10 years. We want to do much like yourself, quite like to spend a bit more time abroad. We'd quite like to spend a bit more time helping people as well. I love support. I love providing support, and the educational side of my business is massive passion of mine, because not everybody can manipulate data and do weird stuff with sort of facts and figures, but everybody can absorb the content and read the content I can push out. So that gives me a hell of a big kick. I don't make any money out of any of that sort of stuff. It raises my profile, but I do it because I love it, and also then I can use that to benefit other areas of my businesses as well.
Yeah.
At that point, because it's so relevant to people.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want people to listen to this going, oh my God, I'm not going to get into property now. It sounds horrendous. I
I
think
don't
what
think
we're
it is.
saying, I think what we're saying is do it right, do it in the right way, and use the tools that are available. Don't feel daunted. If you're unsure, ask, and ask the right people for help, people who you know, like, and trust and stuff as
Surround
well.
yourself with people. And if you're not a data person, chat to people like myself. If you're not a salesperson, chat to a salesperson. If you're
Yeah.
not a process person, chat to Helen. These are the things that you can do. Don't just go and open your wallet up or your purse up and spend a load of money on another strategy or another way of doing stuff. You can learn that yourself. Focus on developing yourself as a professional. So I suppose it's back to our corporate stuff, isn't it? Professional development, continually professionally developing. That's what you've got to focus on, I think.
So I'm just going to say a little bit about Mars now and the personal development plan. So because it's really relevant to what we're just talking about. So it was split in 70, 20, 10 in terms of how you should spend your time. And the biggest amount of that, 70%, is learn by doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so valuable to just get out there and go do. So I also see a lot of people going on lots of courses, but not actually then going out and doing anything. So you need to go and embed that learning, like you absolutely do. But then the 20% was learn from others. So it's like from other people who you might like peer-to-peer, that kind of stuff. And then the 10% was like the courses, the training, like the formalized learning. So that was 10%. And so again, you do, if you think about it, what resonates most? Going out there and doing it, right? It sinks in then, doesn't it?
And you're going to make a mistake and you're going to get things wrong.
And that's all right. That's okay. Yeah. The phrase as well I used to talk about, which was a relatively new thing, but I get it, is like, you don't have to be perfect before you kind of start. So there was this like phrase around like test and learn and fail forwards. But the one that kind of always sticks in my head is you can fix the plane whilst you're flying it, which sounds like really scary, right? But
I don't like planes. Thanks for that.
But you can be up there, you can be doing it, and you can be tweaking as you go, right? So
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's lost because people are looking for the golden ticket, and a lot of the time they're looking for they just do this and do this and do this that you've been taught, and then it just doesn't work. The number of people that I've seen trying to make particular property strategies or businesses work in locations where they don't work. That was birth of Ultimate Property Dashboard, and a few of the other things I did was like it doesn't work everywhere, and there aren't deals everywhere in that space. You might want to just tweak or course adjust slightly or fix the plane in mid-flight and do something a bit different. And you're right. That's just a blind spot for a lot of people. They just don't see it. They just think, no, I've got to make this. I've got to make luxury detached abodes work in the middle of this rather rough high crime area because somebody told me it'll work. It's scary, isn't it? But that's it.
So have your plan and know where you want to get to. Have a strategy of how you're going to get there, but it might vary and it might change and you might have to adapt things. But the only way you know what you need to change is if you're measuring it, right? So how do you know you're doing a good job? How do you know where your numbers are? Are you actually measuring your figures down to your profit levels, or are you just focusing on either how many properties you've got or how much top line revenue you're bringing in? Like, that's not what's important.
We talk about this to our friends and colleagues and stuff, and because Cal and I we do a couple of round table meetings, and we talk about this. Then you wouldn't believe, right? You just wouldn't believe the number of people that don't have like a cash flow forecast or a P&L for their business. And I just think, this is your life savings for a lot of people. This is your life. This is the future. This is you sat on a desert island or rocking it up in London, living the high life and all that. This has got to work, and then you don't even know. You haven't got a plan. You've just got a strategy that someone's told you. You haven't got a Scooby-Doo as to how much money you're going to make now in 12 months, in 3 years, and in 5 years. You don't have a handle on your costs, and this is why a lot of people will be all over the radar. That you'll see them all over social media and video content. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, and then they disappear, and it's just crash and burn because it was all just a facade. It was all, and that's probably the final scary bit in my property investing journey. Just seeing people that I thought, gosh, there's someone I should follow and trust, and then a year later you find that they're gone,
And
they're insolvent, or someone's suing them. And there's been a lot of that in our space in the property industry over the last 12 months. There's been a lot of that happening, and I hope you haven't been burnt by it, anyone who's listening. But if you have, I'm sure you could tell the story far better than we could.
that's why you've got to take your time, I think, as well, haven't you? And property's not a fast business, is it, at all? It takes forever for house sales to go through.
Planning and
Yeah. So you can't do anything quickly anyway, but yeah, just don't try and
being
run
honest
before
with
you
yourself,
walk.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
What an awesome chat. I have absolutely loved that. Thank you so much, Helen. And thank you to everyone who's watched this video. I think if you didn't get a few bits out of that, and I think you must have had your volume switched all the way down, because a load of cool stuff there. Main takeaway for me there is the separation of plan and strategy, and then measurement on top. Massive one for me, and just being aware of what skills you've got to sort of focus on yourself, and where maybe the skills aren't quite natural for you, where you can bring other people in. I think that's just massive. Bring what you know. You'd be surprised as well. Write down the things that you know or are good at in your current or your recent roles that you've worked in. Write them down and think, how could that work in property? And if you're good at spreadsheets, you can do all the cash flow forecast. And if you're good at organization, you can do the work plan, or you brief your VAs and all that. All of the things that and things that you can do, you should do well, because you'll enjoy it. And all of the things that aren't not so comfortable with, find people who can help you with it. You go fast. Everybody puts you in the right direction. Cool, Helen, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. If you like this video, keep in touch. If there's an option for you to like and subscribe, please do so. And don't forget to check us out, Ultimate Property Dashboard, and also Ultimate Property Research as well, on Facebook, if you want to join our community. And thanks for listening. See you in a future video. Thanks, everybody.